Summer is one of the most confusing times in the veg garden. What should I plant? What should I harvest? What should I prune? So I'm going to show you the things that I think are most important. Summer is the season in the veg patch because it's the season we're all working towards, the season particularly of harvest and of rapid growth. And the one thing that all fruit and vegetable crops need is an even supply of water. So if you're reduced in what you can do with your watering, collecting grey water from the house, vegetables and fruit are prime candidates to be helped, because if during their process of development they run short of water, they'll stop growing, they'll get hard, they'll get woody, and your crops won't be nearly as heavy nor as tender. In our garden, there's quite a lot going on. There's lots growing, one or two bits to plant, but also it's a time of fruition, lots to harvest. And one of the things that's almost ready is the sweet corn, planted in a block as opposed to single rows, because that way the cobs get pollinated better and have a better fruit set. And you can tell the tassel on the top, when it's white and silky, that's when it's developing. When it starts to turn brown, this tassel, that shows that ripening is taking place. The cob is getting fatter, and if you pull away this sheath here and examine the cob inside, you'll see it's turning yellow, and hopefully then it's ready. The old technique used to just stick your thumbnail into one of the little kernels, and if it oozes milk, it's ready, as opposed to clear sap. So sweet corn almost ready, nearly there. One crop that is most certainly ready are the potatoes I planted back in April. These new potatoes have quietly been growing since the spring. I planted them as seed potatoes in the raised beds in rows. I gave them a good watering in, and we've been mounding up the earth on each side of them as the plants have grown to keep the light away from the tubers and make sure they don't go green. It's always an exciting moment. However many years you've been doing it, you're never quite sure what you're going to get, if anything. Well, you hope you are, but that moment, oh look, when the first potato breaks through the soil. Oh, it's wonderfully exciting. Call me childish if you will, but, oh, whoo, bumper crop, gorgeous. Wonderful, and a decent size. See, I reckon that's pretty good going and pretty good growing for a 1 metre length row. Half a dozen seed potatoes in there. Look what they've yielded. If anybody needed convincing that it was worth growing potatoes at home, feast your eyes. Mouthwatering, isn't it? Many of you will be thinking about harvesting tomatoes at this time of year. Here's what to look for. You'll see all stages of development. They begin life as yellow flowers, then they turn into green fruits that swell, eventually turn orange, or in the case of heritage tomatoes, some of them go actually purple. But when they're wonderfully rosy red like these, you can harvest them. The way to harvest them is to put your thumb on the swelling of the stalk above what we used to call as kids the spider, and then push against that swelling, break it off, and the tomato comes with its spider. If you pull it off without that spider, you can damage the skin and it won't last as long when you come to store it. In the other half of the veg patch, lots coming to maturity. Onions there, drying off. French beans here and runner beans, still producing but sort of coming to the end. They love moisture, and this summer has not really been to their liking, but there they are, growing well. Exhibition onions, the size of those. And the leeks here that we raised from seed earlier in the year, they've now made young plants, and you can plant some of these out now in late summer to mature through the winter to give you leeks. Here's the rows that we sowed. What I need to do is just to fork a few of them up. They may look like spring onions, but these are actually baby leeks. Tease them apart, and don't worry that you feel you're being brutal, and look for the sort of the most robust among them. Tease them out, and then what you're going to do is to shorten them at both ends. So with a pair of scissors, shorten these roots by about half. So that's quite enough, and then turn them round and also shorten the top growth again by about a half. And there we have baby leeks ready for planting to turn into bigger leeks. I'm taking them down there now to carry on the row. There's a few more there, and here one of the gardener's oldest and simplest of tools, which gives rise to much merriment, the dibber. And this is one occasion where the dibber is really useful. It's useful for planting brassicas, cabbages, Brussels, cauliflowers, but also leeks. This is a wonderfully prepared bed. It's a bit dry at the moment. It's going to be really soaked in a minute. But push your dibber in like that. And then as you're pulling it out, push your leek in, firm the soil around it, about 4 to 6 inches apart. In, push the leek in, goes around it. I'll do a couple of rows here. See, I'm burying these by about a third of their length. And the reason they're being buried is that the white stem of your leek is blanched because it's underground. It doesn't get daylight. And so all that bit that's underground, a lot of it will form above ground as well, but particularly the underground bit is where you get your white leek from. I'll put that one in there on its own. I don't want it to be lonely. Then you puddle them in where the holes are, but also at the same time I'm going to give this whole bed a really good soak. It's dried out in the sun today, but it's important, particularly with onions, to keep them growing, and leeks are a kind of onion. So a good watering in, and they're on their way, and should have a few leeks by Christmas. So we've done harvesting, we've done planting. What about pruning? Well, trained fruit trees, we always shorten the side shoots back to about finger length on step-over trees, but also on full-grown trees like this. Bush trees, they're called, on a short stem, a short trunk, but they produce a heck of a lot of growth. And in summer, to encourage blossom and fruiting next year, you can shorten these really long growths by about 2/3, and always make your cut, whatever you're pruning, anywhere, anytime, always make your cut just above a leaf. So what this pruning does is it lets more light in and more air in for the developing fruits, and it encourages the formation of fruiting spurs, the little clusters of flowers that form these fruits next year. So it really is worth doing. You end up with a better looking tree as well. So what I hope I've encouraged you to do is to look with a knowing eye at your veg patch and your fruit, and not to stress quite so much about it. It'll manage, and if you don't get it done today, you can get it done tomorrow. More than 175,000 people have now subscribed to the channel, so I just wanted to say thank you. We're working hard to bring you the best possible content that we can, so if you haven't yet subscribed, please do. There's plenty of room for us all in the garden.